Let's talk to the Shadow Justice Secretary, Steve Reid, who joins us now. Good to see you this morning. I mean, look, congratulations on winning Selby and Ainsty with your brand new, freshly polished 25-year-old Member of Parliament who hopefully can bring a bit of fresh blood into the House of Commons. I mean, a fantastic result for the Labour Party there. Disappointing, though, in Uxbridge and South Ruislip.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you. It's good to be with you here from Uxbridge this morning, Steve. Yes, I mean, the result in Selby in North Yorkshire was Labour's best ever by-election result. We've never in our history overturned a 20,000 majority before. So we are so grateful to people who came out and voted Labour, people who'd never voted Labour before. It shows you just what trouble the government is in, but it also shows you how far Labour's changed in these past 3.5 years, because that's the time it's been since Labour suffered in December 2019, our worst general election defeat for 85 years. And to have come this far in 3.5 years under Keir Starmer's leadership just shows how that trust that had been broken is starting to be rebuilt, and we're really, really excited and grateful to people for putting their trust in Labour. But as you say, here in Uxbridge, the result wasn't quite as good. We still got a big swing to Labour in this seat. There had been a 7,000 Conservative majority previously when Boris Johnson, the former Conservative Prime Minister, was elected in 2019. Now it's less than 500. Now that is a big swing, but we wanted to get it over the line. We wanted to get our candidate elected as the Member of Parliament, and he didn't quite get there. So we need to listen to what voters have been saying in Uxbridge that makes it different in terms of the swing to Labour from what we saw in North Yorkshire.
The irony with all of this, Mr Reid, is that it is by all accounts, the Labour Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, who has lost that seat for you over his controversial ULEZ plan. So whereas...
Well, that's... Sorry, Steve. What you're saying, that's exactly what the Conservative candidate said in his victory acceptance speech last night. He said that if it wasn't for ULEZ, Labour would have won this seat. Now, that's his view. But what a thing to say for a Conservative who's just been elected in a seat to basically admit that people in Uxbridge and South Ruislip, just like across the rest of the country, have no confidence in the Conservative stewardship of the economy if it just comes down to that one issue. Now, I've been in Uxbridge many times over the last few weeks. I've spoken to hundreds of voters myself. We had many Labour activists out here, and a lot of people raised concerns about ULEZ with us. And the way that they put it was, at a time when the Conservatives have crashed the economy and sent people's mortgages through the roof, and prices in the shops are still rocketing at around 17% a year. That's the rate of food inflation. Is this the right time to be introducing a ULEZ charge? And they didn't want to see it, and I believe it stopped people who would otherwise have come and voted Labour from coming out to vote Labour this time. So you have to always reflect on what the voters tell you when you're a politician. The voters are the boss here, so we have to reflect in the cold light of day on what could have been done differently, and those responsible for this policy will need to listen to what the voters have said and consider whether things now need to change.
Whereas, I mean, you may well be right saying, well, voters don't have confidence in the stewardship that the Conservatives have over the country, but it certainly indicates that they don't have confidence in the stewardship that Labour's got over the capital.
Well, I don't agree with you entirely, because we've still got a pretty big swing here in Uxbridge. We've got our best result that we've ever had on the current boundaries in this seat. And this seat, it elected Boris Johnson, when at the time the leader of the Conservative Party and Prime Minister of our country. If you had said to me 3.5 years ago that Labour would even have been in contention in this seat, I wouldn't have believed you. Yet that is where we find ourselves today. The disappointment for me is we didn't get it across the line. We could have had a Labour MP, and yet we haven't got, and we saw what's achievable, because in North Yorkshire, up in Selby, we got a much, much bigger swing to Labour. So if ULEZ is an issue for voters, then it's only right that those politicians responsible for ULEZ listen and reflect and think about how things could possibly be done differently.
But Mr Reid, the result in Uxbridge, the retention of Uxbridge by the Tories. It is a warning, isn't it, of just how much work Sir Keir Starmer has got on his plate to be confident of winning a general election, because he does still seem to be a long way from creating that excitement about Labour that trumps these local issues such as ULEZ. He does need to go further, doesn't he, to give people a reason to vote for Labour rather than against the Tories.
Well, I think there's truth in what you say there, actually, because this wasn't the general election. It was a number of by-elections across the country. The general election will come next year, 12 to 18 months away still, and there's more Labour needs to do. But I think the fact that we've got people coming out and voting Labour who have never voted Labour before in their lives shows that we are moving in the right direction. Are we where we need to be yet? No, none of us would say that. I think we need to have the humility to understand that the voters and the Labour Party have been on a journey these past 3.5 years. We're starting to build back trust under Keir Starmer's leadership that have been absolutely shattered. But we're not as far forwards as we need to be. But we've got another year and a half, and we will keep listening to voters respectfully and make sure that the Labour Party can address their everyday concerns in a way that this Conservative government, with their failed stewardship of the economy, have shown us over these past 13 years they're not capable of doing.
I just wanted to get your reaction to some comments about Keir Mather, who's obviously just won the Selby seat, just 25 years old. What's he being called? The babe of the...
baby of the house.
Baby of the house, that's it. Graham, one of our viewers, has just emailed in saying he's too young, he's got no life experience. And we've just heard the Veterans Minister, Sir Johnny Mercer, likening Keir Mather to one of the characters from The Inbetweeners. What do you make of those comments?
I think Johnny Mercer's being shockingly ignorant and disrespectful to young people there. Parliament works when it has a diversity of representatives who are members of Parliament. That means, I think the average age of an MP is around 55. Why shouldn't young people have a voice in Parliament too? They're also suffering from the cost of living crisis. They're suffering from issues around funding higher education. And they want to have their issues raised in Parliament just like people who are older. And I'll say to Johnny Mercer this. When Winston Churchill was first elected as a Member of Parliament, he was 25, the same age as Keir Mather. I think Johnny needs to really sit back and reflect on why he's being so disrespectful, when really, I hope when Keir Mather gets into Parliament, Johnny Mercer will come and shake his hand and congratulate him on his success in overturning a 20,000 Conservative majority and turning Selby and Ainstey Labour.
Well, I wouldn't put money on that. To be fair,
I live in hope. I live in hope.
But, good try. Steve Reid, it's really good to talk to you this morning. Thanks very much indeed.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.